Hey YouTube, EveryMan Prepping here. Today I want to go over a few articles about energy and specifically in China and some of the blackouts they're having. First, please like this video if you get to the end of it and you enjoyed it. Subscribe, ring that bell, and share with your friends and family. Also, post a comment down below, ask a question or answer a question, reply to someone else. Let's get on to the article starting with China. So we see here that China's power crisis worsens as more factories suspend operations. Now I have a theory that a lot of people don't have on why China might be shutting down these factories. It might be partially related to some of the problems they're having with coal and energy and heat and drought, or it might be part of the playbook of lessening the supply of goods to Taiwan and the United States and the rest of the West. So as we read here, it says, a heat wave-induced power crisis is spreading across southwestern China, shuttering factories and worsening day by day. The Chongqing municipal government ordered factories, including Japanese ones, we know how the Japanese and Chinese never really get along, to suspend production through August 24th. This is to conserve power. And then they're following their neighbors in the Sichuan province. They announced earlier this week that that slumping hydropower due to the drought has led to the closure of some of the world's largest multinational factories, including Toyota. There's a company called Contemporary Apromex Technologies also had to shut down. So we're getting a lot of large Western, Japanese, Taiwanese-owned factories being told they have to shut down. Is this like back when all the ports closed because of the C-19 virus going around? There was a giant shutdown in the major exporting ports in China, which really hurt supplies in the West. It really put, we're still feeling the supply shortages from that, and it'll go on for a while. Is this just they don't want to use that excuse again, so is this just another way of tightening the control of supplies coming out to the West? I think it might be part of the reason. Let's read on further here. So it said state-owned an automobile company, the US-based Ford Motor, BYD Auto, and Taiwanese electronics manufacturers are some of the companies being shut down as well. So here we go, more foreign, Western, Taiwanese companies. You can't produce your goods. Sorry, we don't have enough power for you. It says, despite the heat wave and factory shutdowns, President Xi also said that China will open up its economy even as globalization has experienced a rise in protectionism in some parts of the world. Yeah, I think he's meaning the United States, primarily. So they're saying there's, the drought's causing the water levels to recede. They can't produce enough power. They're having a problem with coal. Can't get enough coal. They're one of the leading producers of coal within their own country. I know they import a lot from Australia, but they have plenty in their own country. I think it's one of the that might be part of it. I'm not saying it's not, but I think the bigger play here is also what can China do to reduce the supplies to the West, especially to the United States, and make us feel more pain. And I believe this is their next step. They're just blaming different problems that are happening within the country for this. I think we'll see it increase. I think we'll see it continuing, and it's probably going to happen until they eventually go to war with Taiwan, which I do believe is also coming. Now, a few more articles around the world here on power. We have natural gas at a 14-year high coming out of this country. As you can see this little chart here, natural gas, a little green arrow showing its 14-year high. That we can't produce enough here, and we're selling a lot of it to Europe. Europe pays a ton for natural gas because they're not getting it from Russia. And what does the United States do? We're going to sell it to the highest bidder. We're not going to have any nationalism there. Those companies are just going to sell it to the highest bidder. That's why in my previous video, I'll put a link to it. I talked about get wood now. Get your wood, split it, store it, cure it, make sure it's out of the elements, because you're going to need it this winter. You're not going to want to pay these high prices for this natural gas. And it talks about here how natural gas production has has in the last few individual days been impressive, but it's been unable to sustain those numbers amid a myriad of pipeline maintenance events and outages. So there seems to be a lot of issues that we just can't keep production up. So guess what? We're just gonna have to raise the prices. So the declines are problematic because this is the time that domestic winter reserves are injected with natural gas to prepare the U.S. for the cold season, which is only 10 weeks away in their business. So we can't store gas. We can't build up the reserves for winter. They're already telling us this right now because there's low production and we're selling it all to Europe. Once again, go get some wood. You have a wood fireplace. You have a wood burning stove, some other pellet device. Get some wood. Store it in your backyard, in a barn somewhere. But you're gonna need it, and you'll thank me for it later. Moving on here, we see that oil is surging on China reopening. First article I talked about how Xi said they're going to open their economy up. And this spurred oil to go up because, China uses more oil, so let's increase the price. But the biggest contribution, I believe, is there'll be no Iran nuclear deal. So, earlier this week on Monday, the big announcement was, we're close to a nuclear deal. Oil starts crashing. And as you can see, I'll go down here, it says, the announcement by Iran indicating the willingness to entertain nuclear talks is likely intended to draw out further ongoing discussions in our view. And this is someone from Goldman Sachs. Before more disruptive countermeasures are potentially taken by the United States and its allies. So basically, Iran's buying time. They're saying, yeah, we can agree to do stuff, we'll look at this deal. They're basically buying time before they know more sanctions are probably coming and even harsher steps. Let me go up here a little bit. Goldman also said in this line right here that they have confirmed, I'm not sure who they confirmed with, that the new version of the JCPOA, which is the Iran nuclear deal, is unlikely to happen at all. So traders hear this, oil's going to spike. They thought, the Iranian oil was going to glut the market, and it's not. Going towards the midterms, you're going to see a lot of the current administration trying to leak out good news on Iran or on supplies or energy because they need this election to elect as many Democrats as they can. So they're going to try to get as many news stories out there that are favorable, that lower prices, lower gas, try to make inflation look like it's not that high. That's all going to be coming, so we got to be aware of that. In fact, if we look at oil prices right now, we can see that it's not up to $9.48 for West Texas crude, and Brent's at 96. It's up $3 today. So there's your increase. And lastly, I want to touch on this, which is going to be interesting the next few days. And it kind of has to do with energy. It has to do with a nuclear power plant, the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. And it's in the Zaporizhzhia region of Ukraine. And Russia currently controls it. And Ukraine's been bombing it, although then they say that Russia has actually been bombing it themselves. Anyway, in this article, it says Russia claims that Ukraine's preparing a false flag at that nuke site, and they're going to blow it up themselves. And then blame it on Moscow, blame it on Russia. It's a huge nuclear event. It's Russia's fault. That's what they're claiming. As we go down here, we can see that on Thursday, Russia's defense minister issued its most ominous and alarming claim yet regarding the deteriorating situation at Zaporizhzhia. They allege that Ukraine is currently engaging in plotting a false flag and that any resulting catastrophe will be immediately blamed on Moscow. And then Ukraine claims the same thing about Russia. It basically says, at this point, both sides are in essence charging each other with nuclear blackmail. So if we look at this map really quick, you'll see we got Zaporizhzhia here. That's the nuclear power plant location at the red balloon. It's just above Crimea, southern Ukraine. But if that thing goes, if Ukraine, they are shelling it. And if they hit a reactor and it goes off, I know there's people saying, those nuclear reactors are almost bomb-proof. They're not going to blow up. I don't believe that for an instance. I figure you lob a few nukes, a few regular bombs at it, and they knock out the power, they knock out the pumps that keep that thing cool, you're going to have a problem. Doesn't matter if they hit the reactor or not. If they hit the cooling ponds, which have the spent rods in, you get another huge nuclear issue. if that thing goes down, goes hot, melts down, depending on the wind, you know, you're carrying it into Russia, you're carrying it straight into Europe, it's going into the Black Sea, it's stopping trade routes to the Mediterranean. It's not good. Not good in one bit at all. It would be the largest nuclear catastrophe the world's ever experienced. And not only is it like that an energy item, like I said, but it's a huge world problem. You're going to have, you know, food, you know, contamination issues, shortages, chaos. So we're going to keep our eyes on that, see if that calms down. They're trying to get a DMZ zone. The United Nations is trying to get a DMZ zone built around the nuclear reactor to get both sides to back off and have an international contingency kind of just take care of the site. But Russia says no to that. So who knows what's going to happen from here. Just everybody take this under consideration for going forward now. You can't really prepare for, you know, nuclear meltdown. You're not going to do much for that. But you can prepare for energy shortages coming this winter. Whether it's a shortage or if it's an economic shortage, like I talk about, where economically you just can't afford it, so it's a shortage to you. And that's because everything's going to Europe, supply limitations, it's just too expensive. So once again, acquire your own methods of heating yourself, whether that be, you know, wood. If you want to get a lot of electric blankets and you have solar backup to run them so it's not so expensive, you can try that as well. Just do whatever you can now to prepare yourself for heating and keeping yourself warm in the winter. Until next time, keep your ear to the ground and head on a swivel.